listening to District Music.
Hello, you're so welcome to the District Music Podcast, episode number 4. What the hell? What's going on? My name is Rachel Mayhannon.
I'm Dre Morgan.
And it is the 9th of July, 2026.
Oh.
The sun is shining in the sky.
It's warm.
It is warm. It's really humid or something, isn't it? Today we're going to be chatting all about what makes a great album, and we're also going to be chatting about some of our favourite albums of 2026 so far, international and Irish as well. So there's lots to get through today. But Dre, before we get into it, how was your weekend? What did you get up to?
My weekend was fun. After I went to Croatia 2 weeks ago and went pretty hard, I took like a little bit of a chill weekend, a little bit of a nice weekend, but a chill weekend still means that you're getting up to no good. So me and poor Aaron in the office didn't get Take That tickets. We wanted to go to Take That. Like, I'm sorry, but like that would have been a great time. You get like blackout drunk and Take That. Like, that's like literally just amazing, you know? Yeah, try to relive like X Factor days, you know, that prime kind of thing. Didn't get tickets, so I ended up going to Thai Boy Digital, which was very, very fun. Yeah, it's really cool. Like Thai Boy, for those who don't know, kind of like a young lean associate, came up in like those days, the like Scandinavian cloud rappy kind of days, and then he just released a new album with like a producer collective called Sweetie M, which are like basically the whole vibe of the concert was kind of like mid-2000s like trancey Eastern European ravey kind of thing. It felt like that. It felt a little bit like, I don't know what an example would be, like almost like bordering on like the Aqua, but like with like taste, you know what I mean?
A bit
like,
more edge.
Yeah, with a bit more edge and like some vocals, but there was like, you could have gone to that without knowing a single song and still had a boogie, which was actually so fun because I was like a little bit tired. I'm like a Thai Boy fan, but I'm like, wouldn't be like a religious Thai Boy fan. And yeah, just had a great time. Ended up grooving. Yeah, it felt like I was on the beach in the Balkans in like 2003 or something, you know. It was great. It was like, that was the vibe, and yeah, really good. How about you, Rachel? What'd you get up to?
Actually, I had an eventful enough weekend because my brother came back from Australia after 3 years. He's home.
God. Did you film one of those videos where it's like surprising the parents?
No. Do you know what? He's actually been home a week, but I only got back to Monaghan on Friday. So got to see Dara, my bro. I got to see my niece and nephew. They got
look sunburnt.
He looks sun-kissed.
Yeah?
Yeah, he has a mullet, he has an earring.
He's been Australia-fied.
He is Australia-fied.
Yeah.
But it was so great to see him. I met my friend Kaylee on Saturday. She asked me to be a bridesmaid for her wedding. Another one. Do you know what?
No, that's a lovely thing.
So delighted. I was like, oh my God, this is like that's so wholesome. Nice. So yeah, she asked me in a coffee shop and I actually got emotional.
Oh, you're like, yes, I will.
I will. We've been through so much together.
That's cute.
Then on Sunday, myself and Salma in the office here linked up with a musician called Abdul Saidi. He did an event here in the District Music offices, and it was basically a writing session. So 30 people could buy tickets, sit down and watch a song being written from start to finish, and it was really, really cool. He has done it in Cork before, which is where Abdul's from, and he basically gets an artist in with him, and he has a band and a producer there, and it's like being in the studio with us in a session. And he basically was like opening up the floor to everybody to be like, okay, guys, how are we feeling today? What do you want to talk about? And like, are there any themes of songs you want to go for? And like, someone was just like, I want to talk about consideration. You know, people were really like open to talking, and it was really cool to see it happen from start to finish. So if I can, maybe I'll insert a bit of the song that was created on Sunday here in the podcast.
I actually was dipped in. I don't know if you didn't see me at all.
I saw you briefly for a second.
Yeah, I dipped in, and it looked like you were really like, there was basically, the setup was kind of like chairs, and you had like a kind of like your music setup, your drums, your guitars, things like that, and it really did feel like a little fly on the wall in a studio kind of feeling. Like, you set it up so well.
It started off with Abdul doing keys, like, and he started talking about how different chords give certain colors, and he's like, this is so cringe. And I'm like, it's not cringe. Like, people love that. And he decided on the color purple. So he did really cool neo soul R&B chords, and then we got some bass on it. Then Ryan, he's such a talent. He's 21, but he started playing the drums on it. It was so cool. Then a guy in the crowd who's also an artist, he's called him Hymn, Hymn.
Mm-hmm.
He just came up with this melody hook, who recorded that, and it was so good. And then Salome, who was the main artist featured for this writing session, is a rapper, and then did the rap and lyrics over it. And then because there was like 5 or 6 singers in the crowd, they got a choir, a gospel choir.
Oh my
vibe.
god.
It's insane.
Wow.
So that was Sunday, and it was a really lovely weekend overall. And yeah, I'm actually just like ready to go into this week. Like I'm ready.
I'm feeling so good about this week. I think
I
it's
love
just a little
this.
fallow weekend, weekend to just grow, weekend to just take count, just chill. That's what I had, and now it's sunny, and now I'm like, I feel just so ready.
And do you know what as well? I love when you get a bit of a personal reset. Like I cleaned my room yesterday. I did 2 washes, did a grocery shop. Like I feel ready.
Oh my god,
Let's go.
we're adults.
So anyway, we're gonna be talking, as I said, this episode all about what makes a great album and also our favorite albums of 2026 so far. But before we get into that, we're gonna do a look back each week from now on of this week in music history. So we're gonna look back at some major music moments that happened this week back in time. So we'll kick it off, Trey.
Kick it off.
So on this week, July 6th in 1980, Bob Marley actually played his only ever Irish show. So fascinating. So it was his first and only Irish concert. It was in Dalymount Park in Dublin, and around 23,000 people attended. I feel like that would be so much bigger now, obviously.
Yeah.
But it became one of the most legendary gigs in Irish music history. It was one of his final outdoor performances before his death in May 1981. So that was just like less than a year before his death. So it was just so special that we got to see that. But I don't know anybody that has actually went to that gig.
We need to find someone
Yeah.
that was at that gig and interview them. That's a really good idea, actually.
So guys, if anybody's listening and was at that gig, Bob Marley's only ever Irish show, or you
dad was at that gig,
know
your
someone,
uncle, your ma, anyone.
tell us,
Yeah.
please. We want to hear from you and just chat about it because, yeah, that would be so surreal. But yeah, what else happened this week in music history, Dre?
Well, we run it back a year before that, and we had the Walkman came out. One of the first examples of basically like portable music enjoyment, apart from like when you see someone walking around with like a boombox on their shoulder. The Walkman, it was like a pivotal piece of music listening equipment. Took the music listening experience mobile, and one of the really interesting things about the Walkman was their marketing campaign. When it first came out, because it was such kind of a foreign concept, such a new concept, Sony had to kind of like explain to people what it was, but also show you what type of person creates a Walkman or enjoys the Walkman. So yeah, Sony basically started this guerrilla marketing campaign in 1979 across Tokyo and Japan, where they hired very attractive young business looking people and actors, and they would just drop them all over Tokyo City, and they would just be walking around, and their job was basically just to walk around the city wearing Walkmans and listen to music. So people would be like, what is that? Like, this person's really hot, attractive, and looks like they're really successful, and they've got this little thing. Maybe I should get one of
No
those.
way.
And it was one of the first examples of guerrilla marketing of its kind, and basically played a huge role in the Walkman and like portable music and the MP3 player and all of this stuff becoming a thing. And it was also one of the first examples of Japan being framed as this kind of futuristic country. When the Walkman went global, then it was like, well, Japan has it, and Japan is the country of the future. So if you want to be in the future, then you need to get yourself a Walkman, basically. And it kind of became synonymous with that aesthetic that we now know so much about Japan being this kind of like techno-futurist kind of society, basically. So yeah, Walkman, absolutely iconic.
That is so interesting. I would have never known that about the Walkman if you hadn't said that.
It's super cool.
That's mad. Also really smart,
Yeah,
isn't it?
guys, the Japanese, I think that they're a smart bunch.
They're living
Smart
in
bunch of
the
lads.
future. Another part of music history from this week, Bill Withers went to number 1 with his track Lean on Me. That went to number 1 on July 8th, 1972 in the US. And obviously we all know that song, Lean on Me. Sing it, Trey. It was obviously one of the most enduring soul songs ever written. And it's still used so much, like everywhere. It's in films, it's like used for like events everywhere still. But he actually wrote that song after moving to Los Angeles from his hometown in West Virginia, and he felt really lonely in the big city, and he basically just sat down with a whirl. I can never say this word. A Wurlitzer,
Wurlitzer.
electric piano. I can't. I can never say it. But he sat down with that, and then he tried to capture that whole like neighborhood community spirit that he grew up with, that he just couldn't find at that time in LA. And it actually became the first and only #1 hit of his whole career. So
Wow,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So really historical song. It's used in so much media. We all know it. And if I don't stop talking now, I'm gonna start singing it. So back to you, Dre.
Okay then. So from Bill Withers to Bjork. Bjork this week released her, well, not this week, but this week in 1994, this week in history, released her debut but not debut album, just titled Debut. So very iconic cover. Just kind of like, it gets used as reaction memes sometimes now. But it actually wasn't her debut album. So Bjork was actually an Icelandic child star. Like she was a really, really famous child musician. Her original album, it's in Icelandic. It's 11 Icelandic classical songs, and that actually went platinum in Iceland. It's like one of the most iconic albums ever to exist in Iceland, and was created by an 11-year-old Bjork. However, this actual debut album, was basically touted to be like a commercial flop by her label, and they kind of stopped her from trying to release it for about 10 years. There was almost a 10-year kind of, not battle, but a 10-year kind of deliberation of whether this album is kind of too niche, because obviously Bjork has such a unique kind of voice, and the soundscapes and stuff like that was so unique. So yeah, after 10 years, they got the album released, and obviously you also, on that tour of the album, you get such an iconic clip, which is, "This is my first time in Ireland," which is from Fela in Tipperary, which was an iconic festival, rest in peace. But yeah, I mean, that lineup was absolutely crazy. I wrote some down here. It was literally like, it was the Cranberries, it was the Prodigy,
Oh
it was
my God.
Bjork. There were a few other heads there anyway, but yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, by the time of that gig, the label thought that Bjork would sell 40,000 records max, and she'd almost sold 1 million. So absolutely killed it, and obviously set the trajectory for one of the queens of music.
What an
So,
icon. And I love that she's still going as well.
I know, and she looks great.
She looks great. Yeah, so that was 93, and then moving on 20 years
Whoa.
later. So in 2013, I didn't know about this. Lauryn Hill went to prison for 3 months after pleading guilty to tax offences. Did you know about this?
No, I didn't know about this.
And like at the time, so many people thought it would like mark the end of her career, and like she wouldn't come back from it. But like, despite releasing very little music, the miseducation of Lauryn Hill, it remains one of the most influential albums ever made. I think it's one of both of our
We
favorites.
had it on the list, yeah. I mean, like, she's just an anomaly in the fact that you can stay so relevant. It's almost like the Frank Ocean effect times a million. Like if you just
Exactly.
stay out of the spotlight, you become so elusive and so like adored, and you don't even need to like project who you are onto your audience. Your audience kind of makes up this like deified figure. Like, you're almost like this like mystical figure in the head that pops out every now and again. And sometimes maybe that can work for a career trajectory, because
Yeah.
she's still loved, and she could do a tour now and sell out literally everywhere.
So just goes to show, if you go to prison for 3 months for tax offences, you can still be an
Pay
icon.
your taxes, people.
Guys, don't pay your taxes. Speaking of albums, we are going to take a quick break. After this, we're going to be chatting all about what makes a great album. So I'm really looking forward to that. Do not go anywhere. That was harmonized. Okay, welcome back to the District Music Podcast, episode 4, where we're talking all things albums. What makes a great album? What are our faves of this year so far? So, Dre, I'm just going to jump straight in and ask you the ultimate question. What separates a good album from a truly great album, in your opinion?
One word: consistency.
Oh, he was ready for that
An
one.
album has to be consistently good throughout. I mean, a good album can have amazing tracks on it, and those tracks can be the only tracks remembered from that album, and you can look back and think, what a fantastic album that is. But to be a great album, you need back to back to back. It doesn't necessarily need bangers, but you need a journey which is sculpted through consistency. I need a consistent narrative, a consistent vibe. Not even a consistent vibe, but just a story to be brought on a journey. What do you think, Rachel?
Ooh, what an answer. Totally agree. I think like when the tracks stop existing as like individuals,
Mhm.
it's the cohesion. It's a larger emotional experience. Like you're being brought on a journey, as you said. And like it also creates a world. A great album creates a world, whether that's sonically, visually. We'll get into all of this as the conversation unfolds. But as you mentioned there before, like Blonde, you're not listening to the songs. You're stepping in to the artist's universe for 40 minutes or so. And I think like the ultimate test is whether, it still reveals something new after you listen to it the 10th time, the 20th time, the 100th time. So I think, yeah, it's consistency, but it's also curiosity and curiosity of the human condition.
Oh,
That's
it's
what I think.
psychological.
Because, I think that's what art should do
Mhm.
ultimately. When we're studying poems in school for like leaving cert, if we're in an art gallery, if it sparks something in you as a human, then it's doing something great.
I think so, and I think like to get a little bit less philosophical, if I play one track from the album, does it pull me in and make me like, oh, I gotta listen to the whole album? No,
Yeah.
I think like that is a marker of a great album where you're
That's
like,
so
I
true.
need the next song or I need to like fill the world now. It's like I'm in, okay, I gotta go and do it. Like I do that all the time. I hit one of my liked songs or something, and I'm like, okay, well I gotta listen to the whole album now. And also just talking about narratives, like the narrative doesn't have to be explicit. Like in something like Blonde, like it's not like there's a specific story being told,
No.
but there is still a narrative throughout that, which is like loving and losing and kind of
Mm.
the existential fear and things like that. So yeah, I think there's more nuance to a narrative. It doesn't have to just be like from A to B to C, but it does need to have that cohesion, like you said.
Yeah, like exactly. And another one that jumps to mind when you're talking about Blonde, there is Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. Like it doesn't have a storyline. It's not a conceptual album. It just is like an emotional journey, and that's enough, I think. And that kind of brings me on to my next question, which is like, does an album need a concept? Like I think we kind of answered it there. No.
I I think like a concept can mean a few different things as well. It doesn't need to have a like narrative structure in the sense of storytelling, but your concept behind it can be like, are we talking like a mood board? Because I think like if someone's making an album, then there should be some sort of structure of a concept behind it in the sense of like, what am I trying to communicate here? Like, is this my feelings kind of concisely wrapped up in this like digestible but also thought-provoking thing? So I think like an album can have a concept but doesn't need a rigid concept. Almost albums that are too rigid, it's like you're sacrificing a bit of kind of emotion and free-flowing kind of artistry
Mm.
in the sense of like trying to like, be a little bit too rigid with your narrative. I don't know. What do you think, Rachel?
I think yeah, there has to be some sort of concept, and sometimes the concept is not having a concept.
Mm.
Sometimes albums, and actually a lot of albums, are about the chaos in someone's life, and the chaos and the absence of concept becomes the concept.
Yeah, of course. Which
And
adds to the journey then, because you have ups and downs in the album,
yeah, because that's how life feels
Mhm.
sometimes to people, and people can relate to that. But I think if an album like asks and answers a question, then that is a concept in itself. And I think great albums do that. It's just like a certain way of seeing the world. And that can be like a concept can mean so many things, as you said, to so many different people. But yeah, I think a concept, whether it's absent or not, it's always kind of there. Like I subconsciously, even if an artist is putting it together, I think.
See, obviously, I was talking about like mood boards and storyboards, and like an album is so much wider than the music and brings in so many more elements than just the music in itself. So, how important is kind of those other elements, of what are those other elements that make an album or elevated album from good to great?
Obviously, the visual world of an album is something that like we talk a lot more. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think we talk about it a lot more now in this like algorithmic
I
age
think
and
so. I
this
think
world
so.
of being online. But yeah, we've never just listened to the music. Like there's the artwork, there's the fashion of the artist, there's the marketing, the branding. Like we've never just listened to music. Like
Mhm.
I know I said it's more prevalent like now, but actually looking back, like David Bowie was
That's very true.
such a visual
And
artist. Bjork, who we also talked about, and then yeah, like even like Frank Ocean's green hair. Like
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
part of him as an artist. The green color of Brat,
yeah,
the
yeah,
album
yeah.
artwork. That those artists like they've created a whole world. I think they have like the strongest cultural identities
Mhm.
and actually create longevity as well.
Are there any, I mean, when I'm thinking of like world building, fantastic world builders, obviously Brad comes into it because that was like world building taken to a next level. I mean, you've got like the tour and then kind of this like self-acknowledging Brat is dead half of the tour, which is like we've rinsed Brat so much, but we're kind of self-aware, so it makes it okay. And it kind of did. And then the movie and then the deluxe, the remix album, and I really want to get onto like deluxe albums as well after this. And like all of this world, and also like the kind of just like welcoming you're welcomed into an era by Charlie XCX, which is really really great. But it's also just it's like the perfect example of how to do a rollout absolutely fantastically, and also how to oversaturate the market and then oversaturate it again in a sort of satirical way. I think that's like absolutely fantastic. I mean, another person who's had like a fantastic pivot and is now like is world building in a completely different way, I think, is Addison Rae. Like Addison Rae went from being like a children's entertainer, effectively, like literally a TikTok dancer, dancing to like fucking what's it called, Renegade, all of those like stupid little TikTok
Yeah.
songs with Charlie D'Amelio. And I think if you look at like Charlie D'Amelio now and you look at Addison Rae, you could tell who has more not only cultural impact but cultural like longevity. And I mean, maybe Charlie D'Amelio is not looking for that. I can't believe we're talking about Addison Rae and Charlie D'Amelio right now.
Has to be
But
done.
like,
Has to be done.
I saw a TikTok the other day, and it's like Addison Rae just, I don't know, wired have earphones in, kind of walking down the street to this song by this artist called Pure Snow, and Pure Snow would be like, kind of niche underground, da, 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 da. And it's like you're really kind of trying to like you're sculpting this world of kind of being this like alternative, tapped in, kind of very layered person, which is kind of the opposite of what Addison Rae was as a TikToker, and it's like working really well. I mean, she just played the Imma here to a sold out crowd, and people absolutely adore her. She's like an icon almost now. So yeah, I think Charlie XX, Addison Rae are two great examples of kind of pivots. Yeah. What do you think, Rachel?
Yeah, I think like there's two ways of looking at it. There's like world building within an album,
Mhm.
and then there's world building of an artist in general. And I think they're two artists that have like an album has brought them a whole new world as a person, as an icon. Whereas like I don't know, like say like Frank Ocean, the Blonde album, he didn't create a whole world as an artist. It was a world within an album,
Yeah.
So I think there's a difference there.
Do
And
you
like
think like Blonde is maybe one of the last relics of that? Like now in the modern like online internet age, you have to kind of create this entire environment around the album for people to kind of understand it and kind of digest it.
I think it depends. Like, there's some artists that have such a big legacy that the album world building stands alone
Mm.
itself. Like I'm trying to think of examples like Kendrick Lamar, like Taylor Swift, like they've already established themselves, not even through world building, but just even through
I
legacy, through
get you.
time,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and they can release an album and like it's a whole world in itself and it's a whole concept. And then they can move on to something totally different the next
Mm.
time. Or like Tyler the Creator,
Yeah,
like
very true.
Chromacopia, like that's a whole world, but that doesn't define his whole world as an artist,
Yeah, that's very true.
you
That's very
know?
true, actually.
So I think Addison Rae and Charlie XCX's world building as them as people is synonymous with their albums.
Mm. That's a very good point. Like Tyler's like quite detached from who Tyler is and his album's world. Like he is not Igor, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
he is not like, Wolf or things like that. Like they are kind of almost characters that he then evolve, like what's it called? Assumes
Yeah.
for the shows, and then he's back to being Tyler the Creator afterwards. Yeah.
And I think if I was an artist like them, I would prefer that approach.
I think so.
Because then you're tied, like Addison Rae and
Free.
Charlie XX are tied to that.
Mm.
And even like last night I was watching Charlie XCX's latest song, Wink Wink. And it's like she knows she needs to move past Brat and change the sonic world of it, but she's still giving that Brat energy in that video. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
Yeah, I have.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like,
You get stuck. I mean, it's just like when you make something so massive, people, it's like, what do you do? It's a really hard pivot. And Charlie XX is going to be really interesting now. Now that the Brat era is finally over, like you can't even look like you can't do the Brat is over thing now. Even Brat is over is over.
Is
you know?
over. Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, what do you do now?
We've moved
You're making
past
rock
it.
music.
And maybe that's like a telltale of the times that we're in. Like, has streaming changed what makes a great album, do you think?
I think it just has changed what an album is. One, it like obviously in the days of like records and vinyls, you had actually a limited amount of space you can put on that record or on that CD, and now it's just a free for all. And I think it's changed an album to being a cohesive set of tracks to being a lot of different singles. And I think like the perfect example of an album or albums that have kind of are kind of a disgrace and like reflects how the streaming has kind of diluted what an album is. It's like Drake's recent round of dropping albums. Like the man dropped 3 albums, all pretty terrible and all with about 30 songs on them each. I mean, how can you drop 90 songs in 1 week and be proud of that as your catalog, you know? But it doesn't matter because he's still got his #1 songs, you know what I mean? And he's still got all of these things. So it is quite literally throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks, you know? And I think that, and it's not even packaging an album. Like you might as well have just made a playlist. Like, is that even an album at that point? So I would say streaming has definitely changed. Maybe there's some better, obviously it makes albums a lot more accessible, but obviously it has like fundamentally changed like what an album is and what the goal of an album is. I don't know, what do you think, Rachel?
Yeah, I think you're really onto something there. It's like people had to really curate, like if they're putting it on vinyl back in like 50 years ago, like they had to be so particular about what songs came on it. And I think that was even in the noughties growing up with CDs and stuff. But now like streaming has like, it's like democratized music, you know, it's like made it like open to everyone and everyone can release and you can release loads, like throw shit at the wall like Drake. But it's like fragmented listening. Like, you know, people are either throwing loads of tracks on an album like that, or or maybe like in their heads they're like, oh, is there going to be a 30-second clip that will go viral on TikTok from this? Is that their hope underneath it?
I mean, have you ever been on Spotify's like TikTok feature? Like the scrolly feature? It's a disgrace. I'm sorry. It's like literally TikTok but for like canvases of Spotify songs. So it just drops you into the middle of a song and gives you like 15 seconds and you can decide if you like it or not, or you can scroll. And I'm like,
The
it
attention
gives me the
span.
shudders.
But I think that is why it's so important that we're having this conversation in this podcast, because great albums feel so much more valuable now, and like so much more like a precious thing that we should celebrate, because
But if an artist loves an album, it comes through in the album. Like, I wonder what percentage of Drake fans actually listen to all 3 albums in this entirety. I would say 1%, if that. Like, honestly, I think that's like a good estimate, to be honest.
yeah.
Like, and it's like, you could be the biggest Drake fan in the world. I still think you're probably not listening to those 3 albums, like on rotation at least anyway. you know?
Yeah, maybe they have decided like we are on the Drake bandwagon and that is it.
But that's also not the album's function. The album's function is not to be listened to front to back, you know? That's not the point of that album. Like, those albums aren't created to be appreciated as a body of work. They're created for one of the songs to go viral and the rest to be discarded at the end of time. And it's like, if you're an artist and you don't have the agency or like even the want to sculpt a beautiful piece of work, then I really just have no respect for you. I'm sorry.
Well, speaking of sculpting and speaking of Drake, like, you know, the rollout for his album with the whole ice sculpture.
Oh, that was good.
Thanks. Like, do you think rollouts like that are important? Like, if people don't know, Drake basically put the release date of his album in a massive ice sculpture in Canada, Toronto. Was it?
Toronto.
And fans came and they were chipping away at it, figuratively and literally, trying to figure out the date. Like, do you think that was a good concept for a rollout of an album? And how important do you think a rollout is? Do you think it could make or break an album?
I think a rollout nowadays is kind of like there's two types of like the rollout of that Drake album was actually fantastic. Like I think like a really cool publicity stunt. People love Drake. It's in his hometown, you know. But I think like the rollout is just the beginning. Like, but nowadays there's so many songs and projects that go viral 6 months, a year, 2 years. I mean, even look at like Moyo's track. Like that track was out. What's it called? From no, what's Moyo's track called? Moments.
Moments.
Yeah, Moyo. Even like Moyo's track Moments like had been out for like 6 months to a year before it went like super viral. That's like Irish artist Moyo ended up going really big with that track. But yeah, that's what I think. It's like the rollout is great, but I think like nowadays it's what you do after the track has dropped. To make sure that people know that you're about. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it starts a cultural conversation for sure. And it invites people into the world before they even press play, which I think is smart because it can kind of give you a first impression without even hearing any music, which I think is really interesting. But I think, yeah, like what you touched on there about like, it's what comes after the album is more important. And I think that kind of reminds me of like, like albums being played live. Like, do you think the live show of an album is important and like, or should the record just completely stand on its own as a work of art?
I just want to go back to the like rollouts really quickly because I
Yeah.
think it plays into it. And like what I said about deluxe albums, because we're seeing like a really common trend of remix albums, which I really really like because like you had like Pink Pantheress do it, you had like Charlie XCX do it as well, and I think it's so much better than a deluxe album. A deluxe album might give you like 2 or 3 extra songs. They might have been kind of throwaways or things that didn't quite make the album. But like remixes are like, one, you're bringing other artists in, and two, you're like fundamentally changing the song. You're giving people a bit of familiarity with a song that they really enjoy, like something like Stateside. But then you put someone like Zara Larsson on it, or or there's like there's Blade on another remix of Stateside as well. And I think like that's absolutely fantastic because when I like listen to that Pink Pantheress album, then again, you get that like Kate Renata remixes of things and stuff like that, and you're like, oh my god, like I love this album, and then you're giving me something else. So I think that is like the perfect thing to do because it's like you're expanding your world, the world of the album by kind of bringing other artists in, and now you have these other artists in your orbit and these other fan bases then in your orbit, which also allows you to kind of veer off and get a little bit more alternative or maybe have a little
Yeah.
bit more wiggle room, you know. Sorry, let's
No,
go
that's
back
such
to
a good
live
point
shows.
though, because
Yeah.
it's kind of like, and it links to the whole live question because, you can see an album, a initial release of an album that is a standalone work of art. The remixes and the deluxe are an evolution of that.
Mhm.
And then again, a live performance, I think, of an album is just an evolution of that again. Like the album is like the document, and then the live show is kind of like having a conversation around it and like
Definitely.
interpreting that, but not trying to replicate the album exactly.
It's difficult as well though because like an album, a live show can sometimes make or break an album. Like I will not deny that like after Frank Ocean's Coachella performance, I maybe was a little bit more difficult to enjoy the music as much. And I'm not saying like
Tell me
some
more.
people loved the Coachella performance. I don't know why, because it wasn't good. And it didn't have love. It didn't have the love. Like Frank Ocean obviously didn't want to be there. And I know his brother passed away before that and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, like we get it. Like obviously for those who don't remember, like Frank Ocean was booked to headline Coachella for week 1 and week 2. When was this? Like 3 years ago, maybe? I don't even know. Was it post-COVID? Yeah, it was.
Oh,
I don't know. Anyway,
maybe
it was.
before. I can't remember.
Anyway, Frank Ocean was booked to headline Coachella, and it was a huge thing because he never performs live. It was a massive thing. Everyone was so excited. Some people obviously had only bought their Coachella tickets to see Frank Ocean. Weekend one, his brother passes away very like close to the festival, so that was another thing as well, very suddenly. But week one, Frank Ocean barely sings. He just kind of stands on the stage, kind of doesn't really do much. People love Frank Ocean, so in my opinion, they're kind of coping. They're kind of like, look, it was fantastic. It was like conceptual. He just wants you to sit there and listen to the music. But in reality, it wasn't a very good performance. And a lot of fans who would die for Blonde, you know what I mean? Like Blonde fundamentally changed their life. It's like, did that really deepen your experience of Blonde, or did it take it away as like Frank Ocean kind of like brushing off an entire demographic of like people who were like had poured their heart and soul out into this album. And I don't think Frank really acknowledged that as much. And then week 2, it got like he cancelled, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he didn't even play week 2 of Coachella after that. So I do think like live performances can make or break an album, because I'm sure there's some people there that Blonde was such an important album to them, bought their tickets, maybe flew from another country to go see that, and then kind of saw Frank kind of almost dismiss their emotions about an album, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very extreme case, but I do think, yeah, live performances play into it quite a bit.
And the other side of things, we went to Brat, the Brat album tour last year of Charlie XCX in Malahide Castle, and that was amazing.
Yeah, tell me about that, Richard. Tell me how you felt.
Do you remember afterwards we just looked at each other and we were like, that was so good. And I know so many people were giving out about how it was really short, but I think that brought that album to life for me. Because the staging was so minimal. It was like her giving everything. I don't know what it was about it, but you could hear like the lyrics they're heartfelt for her in that moment, but it wasn't exactly like the album. You know, she had like interludes and extensions of songs and dance breaks and stuff. So she wasn't trying to recreate the album. She was just interpreting it, and I think she did a really good job.
I think she did as well.
Like we were sucked in. Like it was gripping.
I was like mesmerized.
Where did we go? Like
Literally.
it was gripping from start
was,
to
yeah.
finish. And I think as well, you know, people are giving out about the length of it. I think it was actually the perfect amount of time.
Honestly, like, yeah, I think so. I'm sorry, but it was.
Because you also don't want it to be too long.
I think if you're, yeah, exactly. And I think like that was Charlie XCX's largest ever crowd. And when you have that kind of superstardom level that she achieved, then it's hard, like, because you obviously want to satisfy your core fan base, but then you have all these masses of kind of casual fans, if you want to say. So it's like if you play an hour and a half, you're kind of going to lose your audience, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, if you're touching 2 hours, then it's going to be difficult to kind of keep people on board.
I'm conscious of time, but I just want to ask you, what album do you think gets absolutely everything right in terms of world building? Big question.
I actually didn't even write it down, but it just comes to mind, like What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, I think is a really good example of that. I don't know why I didn't write that down, but I think like you feel like you're like in kind of like civil rights America when you're listening to that album. You know, you feel like you're like in the communities that kind of lay a foundation for what modern day activism is, and you kind of feel like the pain of the people through that album. I didn't even like think about that, but yeah, just a gorgeous, timeless album, I would say, and it just gets everything right in the sense that you are taken on a journey through that. You're taken on a journey through like pain and love and kind of the bigger questions of society and injustice. And yeah, I'm really transported to the world of Marvin Gaye, who actually had an unbelievably painful life, but maybe that's for another episode because the stories on him are
Really?
insane.
I did not know that.
His own, I'll give
Is
a
there,
little tidbit.
can you give
It's
us a
like
synopsis?
his own, he basically, the way Martin Gaye passed away, I don't know if you know this, but his father was a pastor but also a cross-dresser, and had a secret cross-dresser, and was an insanely neurotic person and an insanely abusive person to Marvin Gaye, and Marvin Gaye was actually gay, and basically, in the end, to make a long story short, Marvin Gaye hated his father so much that but Marvin Gaye also was so depressed that he wanted to commit suicide. So he provoked his own father to shoot him, hoping that his father would then get sent to prison and he would then die.
No.
Yeah, it's an absolutely wild story. His father actually ended up getting away with it, and didn't go to prison, but he did shoot Marvin Gaye, and his own father killed him, basically.
Oh. my
Yeah,
God.
it's a mad story.
We should do a whole podcast on that. That's crazy. Yeah, well, definitely, like that is he has built such a world in that album, though. I'm just gonna fire some out because of time.
Yeah, give me some.
But like, Miseducation of Lauren Hill,
Of course.
I think the world that she creates there is like, I imagine
I'm in the school.
I'm in the school. I'm in a classroom,
Yeah.
and I feel like Lauren Hill is the educator, and she's there, like educating the youth on like what emotions are, what like just.
It's the best like SPHE class you've ever had, or CSB or whatever it's called class you've ever
It's
had.
like she's teaching the meaning of love and soul to young children, and I love that world that she's built. Like that's what I imagine when I listen to it, and I love the way music is like that. Like same with a book, you create this whole world or image in your head, Another one that creates a whole image in my head, like it's classic one, but like Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Of course.
You know, they create the whole theatrical, altered reality, psychedelic concept, and you're in it like from the start. You feel like you're at a show. You know, even at the start of the album, it's just an orchestra tuning up, and then you know a crowd cheered and stuff. Like you're there, you're in it.
Did you know on the cover of that album, you know, there's all the little cutouts.
Yeah.
You know, there was supposed to be Adolf Hitler right in the middle, and they cut it out right at the end, I think, apparently. But some of the Beatles have said that he is in there. He's just hidden behind other cutouts.
Oh my god, I need to look at it.
Yeah,
inspect it
apparently there
more.
was supposed to be Adolf Hitler. in
I
it,
also
so-
saw a post about it recently that there's only 3 of the people that were on the cover alive. Maybe it's more than
What?
3.
No, I saw that as well. Maybe we saw the same thing. It's
Yeah.
I couldn't
Don't know
tell
who
you.
it
Paul
is.
McCartney,
Bob Dylan, I think, is one of them.
Bob Dylan,
Can't remember who else.
and who knows?
I don't know. But yeah, Drake just keeps popping up.
Just Drake.
What else? Like Amy Winehouse, Back to Black.
Oh,
That like
that's painful. That
that
album,
that
actually.
world is it's like dark, gritty London. You're in a
You want to help her.
you want to help her, yeah.
yeah.
That again, it creates a whole world. It really does. And I know we've talked about it, but like Frank Ocean Blonde is one of the best albums of the 21st century.
I
Like
do agree.
the feeling I get listening to that is nostalgia, dream like. It's like liminal.
Yeah.
It's memories.
But it's kind of liminal. You're right. It's very memories. Like it's
Yeah.
very like fleeting memories, kind of.
We're so short for time, so we're going to take a break now, and then after this break, we're going to talk about some of our favorite albums from 2026 so far from Ireland and beyond, and we're going to also chat tracks of the week. There's still so much to get through, so we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the District Music Podcast, episode 4, where we're talking all about what makes a great album and also the best albums of 2026 so far from Ireland and beyond. We've picked out a few albums. Do you want to go for first, Trey?
Sure. So we're talking about 2026. We're halfway through 2026.
Yeah,
so
it's the 9th of July.
yeah. it's
What
the
has
9th
come
of
out so
July.
far?
It's funny because I feel like if you asked me this question like 3 years ago, it would have been like stacked with hip hop albums, and now like hip hop is on the not on the decline in quality, but I think it's just moving to a different thing, and the zeitgeist is moving to a different thing. So a lot of mine are kind of electronic. Buggers is a group that I've been really loving, and I think they're ready for stardom now with their newest album. Ooh, I want to call it. It's the O with the umlaut on
Yeah,
top.
how
So I
do you
feel like
say
you say
that?
that ooh, you know, ooh,
Ooh.
because that's like it elongates the O.
It reminds me of a little like shock face, like
Yeah. Ooh.
doesn't it though? It's like a cute little
Yeah.
shock face.
Yeah, it is. But we kind of have a shared love for this album.
It's so good. We saw them
We saw
in Button Factory
And it was
a
fantastic.
few months ago. There's just something about it. Feels really New York. It feels like I'm going on a letter and I'm gonna enjoy myself.
Yes.
But I think it's like it's a mixture of like the waka 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 on the decks, but also the groovy bass lines, her like really airy vocals on top, and the
There's-
drums.
Yeah, pulling from like there's a lot of UK like feel to it as well. Like there is a lot of like bass line, a lot of garage kind of beats on it. But yeah, and then they're built in New York. I think like the woman and man electronic duos are killing it lately. Like that's like almost what all I listen to. Like we're talking like Ear, like I was talking about the other day, and then we're talking Kiss Facility, who I also have on here. We're talking Bass Victim. We're talking Frost Children. We're talking there's some more anyway.
Yeah.
But people know what I'm on about. Like there's it's really
It's a
working.
thing.
Yeah, it's really working.
Okay, another album from 2026 so far that I'm absolutely loving is James Blake's Trying Times. That came out on the 13th of March, just gone, and it's his 7th studio album. And I think it marks such a turning point for him because it's his first ever independent release through his own label called Good Boy Records. It's just chaotic. It's all about like collective anguish in this modern world, and you can really hear like musically he's like moved on, you know, from his early electronica and like club beats. It's more like acoustic, organic, but it has such like gorgeous sprinkles of production
Definitely.
and vocal processing that he is so good at. But yeah, the album is basically all about like finding hope in really difficult, dark times.
I always
and
forget how talented he is, and then he drops a new album, and
know.
it's like unbelievable every time.
See the song "Death of Love"
Yeah.
on that album, like guys, listen to it. Like that's my favorite track from the album, and it actually incorporates a Leonard Cohen sample in it. And do you know what he also has done on that track? he's reconstructed the Titanic SOS Morse code.
Oh my god.
So that's all to like heighten the sense of dread in the song.
Really?
Yeah, I just think
Wow.
that's so cool.
Wow, that's really
Um,
impressive.
yeah, so that's one of my definitely one of my favorite albums of 2026 so far. But what else you got, Dre?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned the Kiss Facility, which is Sega Bodega, Irish artist and his girlfriend, kind of like a double act situation, but just like gorgeous. Like sometimes it's like veering into like Middle Eastern sounds, but gorgeous like electronic production, like big production, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of like you can imagine it in like a lot of lights going on, which is a lot of Sega Bodega's production is like that. But yeah, very cohesive. It's just really cool that they're like boyfriend and girlfriend as well, and they work
Yeah.
so well together, you know. Yeah, it's just like I think, like I say, we're kind of pivoting and moving towards a kind of electronic music zeitgeist, and I think like this is going to be one of those albums on the forefront. And they're playing in Ireland soon, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to go because I would really implore anyone who likes electronic music to listen to Sega Bodega, but also go to a Sega Bodega live show, because every time I've been, it's been one of the best live shows, and it's that appreciation and the deepening of a project like we were talking about with a live show, which is just so impressive. So yeah.
I really want to see Sega Bodega. I haven't seen him live, so it's on my list. And speaking of that whole like electronic world that we're kind of going more into, the next album that I have, it kind of shows that that's like entering mainstream and pop more now than ever. Underscores has released an album called You. Underscores is the stage name of April Harper Gray. How cute is her name? April Harper Gray. And Underscores, or aka April Harper Gray, is a 26-year-old. She's Filipino American. And she's an electronic musician, and you can hear that like this is a pop record, but it's so bold and out there because she's like unapologetically putting like such cool electronic chops in it. And you know what I love most about this album is like you don't know where the song is going to go next.
Oh, it's great.
It's just like, oh my god, it's like just the ear is
ADHD.
interested.
It's ADHD AF. I think like what you're seeing with Underscores, like Aaron downstairs in the office loves Underscores. I love Underscores as
Yeah.
well, as like same with like J Remover, is like you're finally seeing like a generation that of music enjoyers now that like we've grown up with, and we have like now the cultural like these samples and things that they're using are from like the 2010s, are from like, you know, they're sampling things like We Startup music, or like, you know, things that we kind of grown up with, which gives you like that other little element. You're like, wait, was that the like, you know, was that this? Like someone like Two Hollis is like sampling like a Minecraft, you know, a sound from Minecraft, like the fireworks going off on Minecraft, or like J Remover sampled like the Fortnite, like someone getting shot in Fortnite and stuff like that. And I
I
feel
love
like
that sound.
Underscores is like, yeah, Underscores is like a very similar thing. Did you see Eric Andre reacting to Underscores? Actually,
Yeah,
the
I
comedian? Yeah,
did.
it's so funny where he was like,
It's like early
when
Aphex
I was
Twin.
when I was listening to Aphex Twin back in the day, like I
Yeah.
couldn't get any girls, and now this is what everyone listens to.
Yeah, I did see that. But that album, You by Underscores, is all about escapism in the digital age, which is very apt for what we're even talking about. But also the connection to an overstimulated world. So it all makes sense for how
Oh,
the
definitely.
feeling that we're getting listening to, it's encapsulated in the themes, you know?
And I would also encourage people to go and watch the Underscores music videos, because they
Yes.
are so fantastic. And once again, pulling on like the iPhone, you know, the old like MP3 player, or
Yeah.
sorry, what's it called? The old iPod adverts and all those kind of things, you know. It's
And
great.
speaking of that visual world, like the artwork as well is all about it's inspired by like commercial architecture, so like shopping centers, airports, hotels. Again, it's given that liminal, like fluorescent kind of naughties spaces. Think Celtic Tiger, think, you know, like bright lights.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
The
yeah,
back rooms.
yeah, exactly. It's given that. Underscores You. I think we're both
You
fans.
are cool.
What other albums?
I've spoken about Feeble Little Horse before. Bitnot, they were my pick of the week on was it episode 1? It was episode 1.
Yeah.
Their album Bitnot, beautiful, kind of more like a mix of like Midwest emo shoegaze kind of vibes. Yeah, just like something that you could cry to and you could kind of headbang to. I need a little bit of release. I haven't been listening to that much show music lately, actually. It's been very like go, 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 which is kind of cool. But this is like more cathartic than like an electronic album. It's like more big guitars, lots of pedals, you know what I mean? Which is something that I think you can really like pour your soul out to.
You mentioned shoegaze there, you mentioned guitars. The other album that this is an Irish album that came out this year by Rosie Carney. It's called Doomsday Night Tapes.
I still need to listen to this. You said
Yeah.
about this.
But you know what? And it's funny because, we were talking about underscores you there and Brat and how it's like keeping you engaged the whole time. But it's so good to come back to albums like this that, we need to still learn the art of patience and, the development and the building of a song, like the gradual build of a song, which
There's
I think
no
is really,
payoff if there's no
exactly.
waiting, you know?
So what I love about this album called Doomsday Night Tapes, it's like it's giving like dream-like ambient textures in this. It's giving a little bit of shoegaze, a bit of like it's just like really lush cinematic sounds, and it's all about love and loss and like the beauty within like catastrophic moments. And when you're listening to this album, it feels like you're in Donegal or you're in Burren, you're in like this really wide landscape. The sonic identity, like, I think builds that visual world in your head of
I
like,
can imagine it already.
yeah,
I
it's
know.
windy,
Yeah.
it's blustery,
Barren.
it's really barren. And what's interesting is like she's an Irish musician who was born in Hampshire in England, but her whole family are from Donegal, so she moved back when she was really young, and grew up in that rugged landscape, and you can really hear that in her whole musical backdrop. So that's another one from 2026 that I'm absolutely loving.
Yum.
Do you have any more for me?
Okay, I might give you one more.
Okay,
Skrillex.
go on.
Well, Skrillex. I love Skrillex. Skrillex new album Soma. I don't think it's as good as his previous album from last year, which is Fuck You Skrillex, You Think You're Andy Warhol, But You're Not, which is just like super cohesive, like one of the most cohesive albums I've ever listened to. In the literal sense that you can listen to the start to the end and you would not know that you've listened to like a different song because it flows so perfectly. This time round, pulls on a lot more like Latin and a lot more Spanish, like language and things like that, which I think is gorgeous. But I just love Skrillex's way of pulling in other artists, and I find out about so many artists from them being on Skrillex albums. And that man is a nerd. Like, he must be on the forums or in his community. I guess people recommend him artists, but he finds some fantastic producers and brings them into his world. And like I say with those, it's like those remix albums. You then expand your orbit of an album into all these different niches that you can then dabble in as an artist, but also give your own little, your own little bit of pizzazz that you can sprinkle in. So yeah, Skrillex Soma, really fantastic album and a really cool album artwork. It's like someone's with like it's like a skullet, like a shaved skullet, and then it's like just like a hand of hair.
Cool. I haven't seen that
Very
album
cool.
artwork. Cool.
Very cool. So yeah, that's me. And anything more? Anything else?
One more for you as well. One more and then maybe a little bonus one to throw in. The Scratch. Another Irish album. The Scratch released an album called Pull Like a Dog in March. I was really looking forward to it. And it didn't disappoint. If you don't know The Scratch, they're a 4-piece Dublin band who blend Irish trad music with metal. Now, do I look like a metal girl? No, I don't. I'm not. But I love this. Trad and metal go so well together. And, we were talking earlier about how an album sounds live. They change the whole feel of an album when you see them live. Like, they are... it's just like fearless traditional music. It's punk. It's like, the way Irish music just makes you want to get up and dance. It's like that with the unapologetic like drive of metal, and that mix is a cocktail for
Fun.
mosh pits.
Fun.
And I saw them live in the National Stadium last year, and that is exactly what you got. It was just people being like, let's let loose, let's go for it. And I think that's what the album's theme is all about. It's like being Irish. It's all about your Irish identity without compromise. This is who we are. Accept us. It's all about resilience. It's about belonging. And I feel like this feels like the Scratch's most confident and resilient album to date. It also proves that this whole trad revival is thriving. Like, genre boundaries don't matter anymore. And yeah, we're going to fuse folk, trad, metal and punk, and there's nothing you can do about it.
And if you want to hear more about the trad revival, you could check out our
Previous
episode.
Yeah. And speaking of trad, one little bonus album is one called Misha Tussa. It's from Ronan O'Snowdy and Miles O'Reilly. Ronan is one of the founding members of Killa, and Miles O'Reilly is an amazing ambient electronic hardware artist who actually worked with Michael D. Higgins on his spoken word album. But that, if you're looking for an album that really encapsulates like the ancient feel of Irish music in a modern way, listen to Misha Tussa. So yeah, geez, we went through a lot of albums there, but they're our favorite ones of 2026 so far.
So far. And there's
far.
actually more that I just like. I wanted to make a nice curated list for you guys, but there's more bits and bobs.
There's so many.
We need to make a playlist for this episode.
We need to make a playlist. And speaking of playlists, we're going to add to our playlist of our track picks of the week. And instead of giving one this week, we're going to give you two each.
How lucky.
So will I go for it first?
Mm-hmm.
So first off, there's a track from a Japanese band called Trooper Salute. The song is in Japanese, but when I looked up how to pronounce it, it's supposedly pronounced Zetsuen. And it actually, in a personal context, it means severing ties. But guys, this is like, it reminds me of Underscore's The Piece, where like the vocal like little chops, because it's giving that energy, but it just goes into like this really indie rock guitar vibe. And I think you're gonna love these. It's given like 90s post rock, math rock, but the start of it is it's scratching a little itch in my brain. So here it is. This is Zetsuen by Trooper Salute.
I really enjoy this one track called Cry by Lancer. It is like a rap song fundamentally, but it uses an absolutely fantastic sample of Piano in the Dark by Brenda Russell. I don't know if you know the song. It's like, I know.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's like an absolutely, it's one of the best uses of samples out there, but it's like heart-wrenching actually, the song. But Lancer Cry is my pick.
Cut my hand when the blade slip through the fireproof gloves. It's always.
Okay, my next pick is a track from a rising South London R&B artist. Her name is Amy Blue, AMIE, and then BLU with no E, and it's giving like retro neo soul. It's like this song's really smooth. And I honestly think that she is one of those artists where you're going to be like, I listened to her before she was massive. Yeah. So this one is just like a gorgeous track all about having that like aha moment after a bad breakup. It's basically about finally realizing the red flags that you were really too blind to notice when you're in the relationship. And I'm pretty sure we've all been there. So this is Amy Blue, Trees for the Woods.
I just keep on laughing, but you don't get the joke. It's 'cause you're asking for forgiveness with your foot on my throat.
Yes, so my pick, I ended up, I don't know how I stumbled across this album called Ephemera by an electronic producer called Amil Raja. I hope I'm saying that right. I think everyone should listen to the album front to back. It's not a big listen. But there's a song on there called Decay. It's a little bit glitchy, a little bit fun, but also like very spacey, kind of a little bit like that James Blakey kind of sound mixed in with it. Very gorgeous. So yeah, mine is Amil Raja, Decay.
Okay, thank you so much for listening to the District Music Podcast, episode 4. I had such fun in this episode.
That was really fun, actually.
Yeah, we both also had a Red Bull before, so we're both yipped. Well, actually, no, I mean, we're like this all the time. But next week is another really exciting episode. We're going to be chatting all about what makes a great live performer and how have live gigs changed over the last while. Please send in what topics you'd like us to talk about. If there's anything you want us to discuss, DM us on districtmusic.ie on Instagram or whatever social you use. And also, if you would follow and subscribe and leave a rating on our podcast, we really, really appreciate it.
It really helps us out, guys.
Yeah. And send it on to someone if you think they would enjoy it. I've been Rachel Mayhannon.
I've been Dre Morgan.
And thank you so much for listening to the District Music Podcast.